Hey guys, so this is my nonfiction mini lesson presentation. I apologize in advance. I am super crazy sick, so if I end up coughing in this video and or my voice is super going in and out, so I apologize in advance for that. So the book I chose is called Separate is Never Equal. It is by Duncan Tonatu. I'm not entirely sure how to pronounce his last name. And it is about the integration of schools in Orange County, California. And so I had no idea that this was even a thing. I'd never heard of it before. But it discusses the court case Mendez versus Westminster, which actually preceded Brown versus Board. So this was one of the first schools to be integrated in the U.S., and it happened well before Little Rock and before things in Topeka, Kansas as well. So I think this is super interesting, and I actually loved reading it, and I'm not even a fourth grader. So it has real life accounts from the girl that integrated the school, and has a few real pictures, but it's also illustrated, and it's really neat. So this is for fourth grade, as I said, and our standard is integrating information from two texts on the same topic in order to write or speak about the subject knowledgeably. So our objective is students will be able to use the information from two different sources on the same topic, which will be the court case Mendez versus Westminster, to write a one-page journal discussing the dangers of segregation and inequality. So I think this is a really timely topic, but it's also a great way to tie in some history with your reading lessons as well, because often social studies kind of just gets pushed to the side, so this is a really good way to kind of bring them together. So for our connection, I will start with asking the students to think of a time when they felt that a situation wasn't equal or wasn't fair. So I will ask them to talk with partners and explain how this unequal situation made them feel and how did they respond to it. What did they feel needed to happen to right this wrong? And then we'll discuss as a class what are the right ways and the wrong ways to respond to an unfair situation, and if we feel that there's unfair situations happening in our classroom or in our school community right now. So our teaching point will be students will learn about the integration of the Orange County School District and the Mendez versus Westminster case that set the stage for Brown versus Board. They will also be able to use this knowledge they gather from two different sources to write a one-page journal discussing the dangers of segregation and inequality. So I will first read aloud this book. So it's kind of long just because there's a lot of information. So it's definitely a good read aloud book. But there's some really good pictures, and it's got a glossary in the back, which is really, really nice. I don't know if you can see it here. So it gives set definitions for terms like segregation, integration, appeals court, things like that might be really difficult for fourth graders to understand if they've never been exposed to the ideas before. I will read this book, and then we'll use the glossary in the back to help define these terms that I stated before. So we'll talk about what are we guessing that these terms mean, and then we'll look at the glossary and see how those line up. Then students will watch an interview with Sylvia Mendez, who is the main character in our story. She was 9 when this happened, and so she's done a lot of interviews. She just received the Presidential Medal of Honor from Barack Obama, so she had a lot of interviews after that happened. So we'll watch a YouTube clip about that, and then students will be able to synthesize the information from the two sources and write a journal reflecting on the dangers of segregation and how the Mendez family fought for equal rights. So the book does a really great job of explaining the process and things like that, but her interview does a really good job of hearing her personal feelings because it's actually her talking about it and reflecting. So then to link this, I would plan to have this mini lesson as part of a larger unit on civil rights movement, what the word equality really means and how it looks in our society today. So it would be a really good way to kind of tie it into a social studies unit. And so students will be able to draw from this mini lesson an understanding of how schools for minorities put them in a disadvantaged place and create an unequal playing field. So this will kind of like set the stage for the rest of the civil rights movement discussions and mini lessons that we'll have later. To assess my students, I will grade their journals for understanding of the topic. I'm mainly going to be grading for content and not necessarily as much of structure. Really just understanding, making sure that they're understanding what inequality means to them and what it meant for the Mendez family, and really just like reflecting on that. And for a modification, if students struggle with writing, they could be sent to a resource room for writing, or if they felt more comfortable, they could also type their journal as well. So that is my mini lesson on, I thought I was going to sneeze. That is my mini lesson for nonfiction, and I highly recommend this book. You should all check it out. It's at the Greenville Library, so definitely check it out and read it. It's great.